Mr. Ross Feingold, political risk analyst, joins me on the broadcast from Taipei. Mr. Feingold, thank you for speaking with us. I, of course, begin by asking you, in your assessment, what could possibly unfold in this meeting in Jeddah?
There's certainly going to be a lot of pressure from the United States delegation for Ukraine to be more willing to at least reach a ceasefire. The terms of the ceasefire that the United States has in mind really remains to be seen. It's not publicly known, but there's probably going to have to be a willingness by Ukraine to accept, at least for ceasefire purposes, that Russia is going to continue to occupy some of Ukrainian territory. And that's probably where the pressure point from the United States is going to be.
Mr. Feingold, at the same time, how do you think Volodymyr Zelensky will be navigating the pressure points that have now been raised by the United States of America? Do we see Zelensky buckling under pressure?
He might very well have to. The other option would be for him to resign or to call a presidential election and let other candidates run on a platform of saying they'll accept a current temporary status quo, which, again, that basically means Russia continues to occupy parts of Ukrainian territory, up to 20%, in fact. So Zelensky's in a very tough spot here. He's basically built his position around recovering all of Ukrainian sovereign territory. But that's easier said than done, obviously. Conditions on the ground really don't indicate that there's a possibility of recovering all the lands that Russia occupies at the moment, all the Ukrainian land that Russia occupies at the moment. So he has a very stark choice. And again, he's probably going to have to give in to the U.S. pressure that in the interim or in the near term, he needs to accept that Russia is going to occupy Ukrainian land.
At the same time, Mr. Feingold, when Russia denies that there are any talks to be held, what is the message that Kremlin is really trying to send?
I think that's also a type of pressure that the Kremlin is giving to Ukraine and also in a way to the United States, because the more that Russia says there's no way we could reach any type of ceasefire with the other side, it's more likely that the United States will put pressure on Ukraine rather than Russia. So it certainly is in Russia's interest at the moment to say that the other side is not willing to talk peace or ceasefire.
And Mr. Feingold, I also want to understand from your perspective, do you think that in the coming days we could see the possibility of a Volodymyr Zelensky being asked to perhaps step down?
It's certainly a possibility. Again, if he refuses to accept a ceasefire arrangement in which Ukraine's territory or part of Ukraine's territory is going to be occupied by Russia in the near term, he might have no choice but to step down, and it would have to be a successor who's willing to accept that kind of ceasefire arrangement. Again, up to now, Zelensky's consistent position is that Ukraine needs to recover all of the occupied territory, but the situation at the front doesn't really indicate that that's a realistic possibility in the short term.
All right, Mr. Ross Feingold, thank you so much for joining us on NewsX World.